So you want more news about God of War 5, yes? Well, there is plenty to talk about Sony Santa Monica's next entry into the God of War series. Sony Santa Monica's God of War video game franchise is one of the largest first-party PlayStation franchises, starting with PlayStation 2 in 2005 and proceeding in one way or different. For Sony's next bigger console launch, PlayStation 5, we are less than a year from here. Although the unannounced date of release on the console is fast approaching, we don't know what the console will contain, including the games. There is strong rumor, the awaited sequel to the Smash 2018 Smash God of War, that one of the first revealed PS5 games won't be anything other than God of War 5. From camera angles to story, everything was changed and redesigned. Kratos stepped away from his Greek roots and stepped into the Norse mythology. Well, he had to, since all of the gods were no longer in existence thanks to the God of War himself. The game is highly unlikely to release on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro. God of War 5 is definitely a next-gen game that is expected to release on PlayStation 5 and probably a PlayStation 5 Pro if Sony keeps its mid-gen console updates going. While the title is coming to PS5, director Cory Barlog isn't really looking forward to creating a next-gen God of War game. He stated that working on a next-gen console requires a lot of work and it's time-consuming to overhaul the engine for a new platform. But Sony is going to push Sony Santa Monica to release the game on PS5, which means it could take longer than some may expect to finish the game. The validity of single-player games is confirmed in another sequel. It has been said about the future of the god of this type of war franchise. So, with that out of the way, we've gathered together all the rumors and news surrounding the God of War sequel for your perusal right here. The next God of War game is going to be as amazing as the last entry into the series. Story details. Kratos will continue his journey with Atreus right where he left off in God of War PS4. He will continue to explore the Norse realms to find more gods to kill. But this time, he isn't looking for a fight, unlike previous games. He is just trying to survive and protect his son, and it is the Norse gods who wish to pick a fight with him. Freya isn't satisfied with Kratos murdering her son Baldur. This provides reason to Odin, the father, to come after Kratos and Atreus. Shortly before the final God of War game released in April 2018, senior strategist at Sony Santa Monica's online community, Aaron Kaufman, confirmed that additional distribution of the franchise would follow Norse mythology and allow players to play and understand full concept behind the new God of War. At the end of God of War, we found out that Kratos' wife, Atreus' mother Freya, was actually a giant called Laufey. That means Atreus is half god and half giant, and, what's more, he has a different name altogether, Loki. You know Loki, the trickster of Norse mythology. Hopefully the new God of War will explore this further and we'll find out more about Freya's secret past, as well as why she kept it all a secret in the first place. We're also hoping Atreus will embrace the shape-shifting abilities that Loki is notorious for instead of simply standing on the sidelines firing arrows at enemies. One thing you should also really know is that Atreus isn't a boy anymore. The God of War sequel may continue on directly from the events of the previous game, however we think it would be more interesting to see how a teenage Atreus and grumpy dad Kratos fare on an adventure. The main villains of the game are expected to be Thor, Odin, and Freya. Along the way, there will be more enemies, but we cannot know until the game actually comes out, which brings us to the question, when is it coming out? Release date. God of War won't be announced at E3 this year, but we can be pretty certain that it will be present at E3 2020 or PlayStation Experience 2020 as a PlayStation 5 game. Sony Santa Monica has not revealed the actual release date for the new God of War, or you can also expect a new title. The narrative of God of War 5 will continue from where it left off in version 4. A few reports suggest that there is still and it may take more than a year for its completion. Hence there is no verified God of War 5 launch date, or maybe it will be released at either in the middle of 2021 or in the late of 2021. It will be Ragnarok. Ragnarok is the end of times in the Norse mythology, and if you played God of War 4 you know by now that Kratos and Atreus triggered the apocalypse. The end is near, but the next game won't be it. God of War Reboot is a trilogy, so expect God of War 6 to wrap things up. It would be interesting to see if God of War 6 will end Kratos' story or if he will move to another mythology. Kratos and Atreus have triggered Ragnarok, the end of times in the Norse mythology. The next God of War game will revolve around the beginning of the end, and if the ending of God of War PS4 is any indication, Thor is the big bad in God of War 5. The rebooted GAO series is a trilogy, so the story won't end with God of War 5. Once Thor is defeated, Kratos is likely to move on to Odin. With over 10 million copies sold, God of War is not only one of the most successful PS4 exclusives, but it is also one of the best games of the generation. The closing chapter of the war moved from Greek mythology to Norse mythology. And given how serious and commercially successful Gods of War is back in 2018, the validity of single-player games is confirmed in another sequel. So what are your thoughts on this one? Do you think Santa Monica should change their character casts or should maintain them, or perhaps Kratos is too old and therefore should be out of the game, giving it up to Atreus to continue the journey? Let us know what you got for us in the comment section. We really appreciate your every thought. Also stick to us, the Gaming Tiger, by subscribing to this channel if you're new here. Thanks for watching.
We have a long journey ahead.